It's always a pleasure to have you here, and that's what informs my excitement every time I'm welcoming you. Thank you for making it a date this week as we continue our conversation around the Made Simple series. Over the last 2 episodes, we focused on career made simple, and we've been exploring it along 3 lines, which is how do you choose, how do you prepare, and how do you switch. Now, we focused on how do you choose. Last week, we landed how do you choose, and we started on how do you prepare. And if you remember, I told you that while you are waiting for that interview, don't sit down at home watching Africa Magic and twiddling your fingers. Find opportunities where you can serve, even if it is for free. Watch last week to get the better detail. But this week, I'm going a bit deeper in how do you prepare. How can you be so ready that if that employer sees you one time, if there are 10 people and they need 1 person, you will be the person to be engaged? How do you get to that level? That was the target I set for myself when I started chasing employment. If you remember my story, I told you I had a very rough background. There was nobody to help with anything. Many of you think that, until I know somebody somewhere, or until there's somebody who is influencing something for me somewhere, I cannot get a good job. I can tell you that is very wrong. When you follow some of the tips that we're sharing here, you become irresistible to your employer. And I've had the privilege of working in different kinds of organizations. I've worked with Schlumberger, I've worked with UNICEF, I've worked with many of the multinationals, and I never knew a single person all through my career. It's been purely merit. You can get to that level, and those tips is what I want to share with you today. Number 1, have you even identified the kind of company that has the kind of job that you want to do? You sit down, I'm applying for a job, you just send CVs anywhere. Have you been able, remember that this thing is a journey. It's about purpose. It's about passion. Then you make a plan on those 2. Now the plan will make you say, I'm an accountant. I like audit. So your interest is what? Firms that either have audit departments or even audit firms. Does that make sense? Or I'm a teacher. I like to teach with children. It means that your focus will be what? Elementary school, primary school, crèche, preparatory school. If you don't make the effort to make the plan, you become random. And when you are random, all you are playing is lottery. You may or you may not. But since this channel is about you living a life of purpose, being deliberate, then you can no longer afford to be random. You must make up your mind to be deliberate. So you need to find the kind of companies that has the kind of jobs that you are looking for. And you know what that does for you? All of a sudden, you begin to hear questions like, how do they interview? What is their engagement process like? And it varies from company to company. If you are focusing on, as an example, you want to get into Shell, or you want to get into MTN as an example, you are able to say, okay, in Shell, they will take you through the first stage is a GMAT, the second one and then is a written, is an English test, then the third one is an interview, or the fourth one is this. Or if you want to join any of these big 4 audit firms, they have a clear recruitment process. Now, how does that help you? Is the light coming on in your head now? You begin to realize that the period of waiting is actually not for waiting, it's for preparation. I say that again. Your period of waiting should be your period of preparation. I'll give you my example. And it's still, in fact, it's worse now. How many hours, how many days notice do you think you can get before your interview date? From experience, sometimes if you're lucky, you get 2. Sometimes it can be 1. And if you are not ready and somebody else is ready, they find the right person, boom, the position is closed. When I was going to get my interview opportunity with Shlom BJ, I wasn't even preparing for test. In fact, it was a Friday. I can never forget. I was dressed in native. If you know me very well, I wear a lot of this abitiaja. I was in far away Port Harcourt. I was at the NYC Secretariat chasing Alawi. I just heard, hey, Shlom BJ is writing test today. And they are going to close today. And I ran there. By the time I got in, they had finished. But because I was persistent, go and watch our 4 Ds to success. I stayed there, pushed all I could. I was allowed in. I was the last person to write. Did I have time to go and review anything? But before then, I knew that aptitude test was what was used at that time. I had GMAT book this far. And I spent my waiting time preparing shapes, numbers, English, language. I was just working, preparing. Did it pay off? You bet it did. There were 25 people that took that test that time. They wanted 2. I was the only one that was taken. What am I saying? Preparing is something you have to apply yourself to. It must be deliberate. So, find the kind of companies you are interested in. Find information about what is their recruitment process. Spend your waiting time building skills, building competencies around those things. And like I said last week, find opportunities to serve now, whether free, whether paid. When you add these things together, you are making yourself indispensable. You are making it impossible for an employer to meet you at the interview, whether random, whether deliberate, and they will not be able to take their eyes off you. I can dwell more on this, but I got to go now. Next week, we will touch on the switch option because that's another topic entirely, but I will mention a few things about it before we go on in our pursuit and our exploration of the Career Made Simple series. Have I tickled something in your mind? I hope I have. Click on that button now, subscribe, so you know when the next one is coming out. Share, comment, send this to somebody that may know, and you need something from me, write directly. You can see the email now. I'll be very glad to respond to you because, like you know, this is the reason why this channel was created. T-Mac is still my name. I enjoy being with you every week because all I'm trying to do is make a little difference, make it the next week, and I'll see you there. Bye.